Set blasters on full.
What's up guys, Gripe here with another review, and today we're going to check out a classic figure. This is the Marvel Legends Spider-Man from the Hobgoblin Build-A-Figure Wave, and this figure is also affectionately known as Pizza Spider-Man. I was actually lucky enough to find this figure in a local Walgreens probably, maybe 2 months ago or so, and it's actually just been sitting in my drawer, and since there's a lull in my pre-orders, I figured I'd give it a review for you guys. And as always, we'll start off with the packaging, and it's fairly typical for your Marvel Legends figure. You have the Build-A-Figure logo on the top left, you've got the Spider-Man logo below that, you got the big wraparound window where you can see the figure and all the awesome accessories, you have the Legends logo and the name of the figure on the bottom, as well as the Hasbro logo. And on the side of the box, you've got a picture of Spider-Man. On the back, you've got a big picture of the figure, as well as a quick little write-up in the top right corner. You can pause that now to read it. And on the bottom, you've got a picture of the Build-A-Figure and all the figures in the wave. And on this side of the box, you have the exact same picture of Spider-Man that was on the other side of the box. On the top of the box, you've got the Spider-Man logo, and on the bottom, you've got the UPC. So now we'll crack open the box and check out the accessories, and it does come with an extra head, and this is the slightly unmasked head. You can see there's some nice wrinkles sculpted into the mask here on the sides. The paint is all really crisply applied. There's really no issues. The white on teeth looks good. Flesh tone looks good. Paint on the rest of the mask looks excellent. You can see there's a little overpaint there on that side, but nothing else really major. Definitely a great secondary head for Spider-Man. You also get this awesome pizza slice, and this is a very interesting accessory. It's also really well painted and sculpted. You have that nice pizza texture on the bottom, some nice pepperoni oozing cheese on here. And you can see there is a little bit of overpaint with the red from the pepperoni onto the cheese, but other than that, everything else is really good with this. I like the sculpt and paint on it. And again, it's a really interesting accessory. This figure also comes with 3 sets of hands. You have the closed fist hands here, and you can see these are pretty nicely painted and sculpted. They even sculpted in a little bit of vein and tendon action on the back of the hands here that gives them that kind of lifelike appearance. The webbing is all pretty well painted. There's really no issues. You can see it gets a little funky sometimes around the bent knuckles, especially on the right hand here, but it's really not that bad at all. You also get the open web-slinging hands, and again, these are also really nicely sculpted and painted. The proportions are done well. There's no weird-looking fingers like some of the other Marvel Legends figures do have, and the paint on them is also pretty crisp. There's really no issues with these as far as the paint. And this Spider-Man figure also comes with a set of outstretched kind of crawling hands. These are the hand position you would typically see in the comics when he's crawling up a wall or something like that, or crouching down. Got some nice creases sculpted into the palms. You've got some nice tendons and veins in the back of the hand here. And they also make a really good pointing device for review videos. And the only issue with these is the little bit of plastic that's on this finger here. Otherwise, they're pretty perfect. So now let's get to the figure itself. And we'll start off with the sculpt and paint. And you can see he's a really well-proportioned Spider-Man. He's got that slim athletic build that he often has in the comics. Paint on it is also really good. I like the blues and reds that they used. You can see the mask here is nicely sculpted. He's got those big eyes that you see in a lot of the comics. Also, all the webbing is really well painted. The whites on the eyes came out perfect, as did the blacks. And those are sculpted, so they're a little bit raised from the mask, which is nice. You have a little bit of a crease there in between the eyes, which is also a nice addition. And again, well-proportioned head. The back is nicely sculpted, as is the front. All the musculature on it is really well done. You can see the neck is got some nice tendons and muscles on there as well. The back here, I really like the muscles that they have on the back of the neck and the upper back here. I think those look great, well sculpted. And you can see they even have some of the muscles sculpted into the inner socket on the shoulder here, which is nice. Is depending on how you position that shoulder in the joint. Some of that might show, some of it might not, but I like that they added that little bit of detail. The rest of the shoulders also look really good. You can see there's almost like a little bit of a black wash on the red, and it actually looks pretty good. There's really no issues. The torso looks really good. I think they did a really great job sculpting all the muscles in this area. Everything looks good. Again, and pretty much the only issue I had with sculpt and paint was the paint they splattered here on the inside of the arm. I can get that off with an X-Acto knife, so it's not that big a deal. Everything else is really crisp, well done, well sculpted. I really have no issues with anything on the sculpt and paint on this figure. And when you see him from the profile, you can see just how skinny Spider-Man is, and I think it's actually perfect for him. He's always been drawn as a skinny athletic hero, and I think they did a really good job portraying that with this sculpt. And you can see that in the legs as well. They're not very big, but they are super ripped, and they did a great job of sculpting it that way on this figure. Although that does bring me to my only other issue with this figure, and that side of that knee joint there is a little bent out, so I have to get a hairdryer on it and kind of bend it back into place. But getting back to the figure, you can see the lower legs and boot area is really well sculpted. I like the calves on this thing. They're totally ripped out. And the overall shape of the legs, I think, works well, especially with how you see him in the comics. I also like the feet. They're kind of a little bit more unique than you see on most of the Marvel Legends figures. They're kind of flat and wide, but it really helps them get some nice dynamic poses, and I really do not mind them at all. So now I'll check out the articulation on the figure, and I think Hasbro really nailed it on this figure. It's one of the best articulated Marvel Legends I've seen. You can have him look down quite a bit. His chin practically touches his chest. He also looks up a good amount. And while you can get the tiniest amount of pivot, I don't think it's intentional, but you do have full rotation on the head. The shoulders on this thing really shine. You can only extend them up a little past straight, not a whole lot, but you do have that second shoulder joint, and you get a lot of rotation out of that. You can practically have his elbows touch behind his back, which is really nice. And again, just really helps you get some nice dynamic poses with this figure. It's almost like a figure arts type joint. You do have full rotation at the socket. You also have a nice bicep swivel, and you can swivel that all the way around. You also have some really good double jointed elbows, getting far beyond 90 degrees. You could practically have him touch his own shoulder, which is really nice for posing. You also have swivel and hinge wrists, and you can swivel that all the way around, and they hinge up and down practically 90 degrees in either direction. You do have a pretty good diaphragm joint. You can get a nice bend forward on that, as well as bend back. Let me just move the arm so you can see it a little bit better, but you can get a pretty good crunch forward with that. There is no side to side, but you do have full rotation at the waist. And he does have decent hips, although they really don't extend that far out to the side, which is kind of surprising. You would expect a little bit more for Spider-Man, but you can definitely get around that with the other joints. You have a great kick forward. You're getting well over 90 degrees on that. Kick back is okay. You're not getting too much on that, honestly, but you're getting maybe about 10-15 degrees or so. But you do have an upper thigh cut, and you can get full rotation there. You also have some really good double jointed knees, and you're getting a really nice bend on those. And this was the loose one on my figure. Unfortunately, you can see just how loose it is. I should be able to tighten that up a little bit with a hairdryer like I was saying before, but you can really see compared to the two, that one just kind of flops around. It's not that big a deal really when I'm posing, but it does impact it a little bit. The ankles extend quite a bit. You're almost getting 90 degrees down, and they go up only about that far. And while there is no rotation, you do have a really nice rocker pivot. You're getting over 90 degrees inside and 90 degrees on the outside, which is really nice for posing. So now I'll check out the size and scale of the figure, and he stands at just under 6 1/4 inches tall. And here he is next to the Marvel Legends Mark 43 on the left, and you can see he's a little bit shorter, so he does scale pretty well with the rest of the Marvel Legends. So overall, I have to say this really is a top-notch figure, and there's a reason it became an instant classic. It's got really nice articulation, especially with those shoulders. And aside from the small paint splatter on the arm, it's got a really nice paint app on it. It also has a really good sculpt and is very well proportioned. It's very classic comic book style, which is nice. And for a Marvel Legends, it comes with a plethora of really nice accessories. For the price, this is definitely one of the best classic Spider-Man you can get. It's definitely pretty hard to find at this point. And when you do find it, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $40, $45, unfortunately. But I will definitely say, if you can find it at a reasonable price, do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's a great Spider-Man figure. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the review, and as always, please subscribe for more.